All right. So, deep state treason. Former State Department official under Trump tells China to quit negotiating until Trump is removed in 2020. I hope he's been fired and locked up in Guantanamo Bay. But anyway, deep state traitors no longer hide their deep hatred for the American people. Miss Susan Thornton, a former acting Assistant Secretary of State in the Trump administration, told her Beijing audience to stop negotiating until Trump is removed from office in 2020. Until July 2018, she was acting Assistant Secretary for East Asia and Pacific Affairs at the Department of State and led East Asia policy-making aims crisis with North Korea, escalating trade tensions with China, and fast-changing international environments. The Conservative Treehouse and South China Morning News reported, a former official in the Trump administration said that China can weather the storm brought by the trade war with the United States, but might have to keep steady, keep their heads down, and wait for a change in the White House. Susan Thornton, former acting Assistant Secretary of State to the US President Donald Trump, told gathering in Shanghai, Wednesday that she hoped a trade deal between the US and China could conclude by next month. But the reality was that it would take a while for China and the US to talk about cooperation again. Thornton, who had 20 years to become the US State Department's chief negotiator for East Asia and Pacific Affairs, told the South China Morning Post. I want to be optimistic, said Thornton, whose 27-year-old career in Washington ended in July. I tell all our foreign counterparts that they should keep steady, keep their heads down, and wait. They should try to not let anything change dramatically. If this skepticism attitude towards talking diplomacy continues in this administration, you might have to wait until another administration, Thornton said in the event by the National Committee of China Regulations and Shangri-La's American Chamber. This does kind of sound like she might just be talking about the possibility. Like, look, do I think that she might be hinting at them to do that? Yes, I do think she's deep state. But at the end of the day, I think she's also being very, very careful what she does say, because she knows that her quotes will be taken out of context. So it's entirely possible that she's saying this sort of shit because at the end of the day, she knows that people are going to be listening and she doesn't want to come across as treasonous. Or it could be just the fact that she's just talking about the 2020 election and she thinks that the Democrats are going to win. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
As far as the trade war thing goes, in my opinion, the dumbest thing that Trump has done in his entire administration is the trade war with China.
Why is that?
I've scoffed at it from the beginning. I think it's a terrible idea. Why? Because it serves no good purpose. It's not going to work. What Trump thinks the trade war could do, it's not going to work, and it's just harming. It's just harming consumers and businesses, and China can weather this out. So it's never going to work. And another thing, he focuses the trade war on electronics. And the reality is that corporations cannot and will not shift around decades of infrastructure just over one president's sitting. They will just wait it out. And as soon as he's out of office, even if it takes 8 years, they'll just wait it out. And then when another person comes along, everything will go back to normal. Although there's another angle too. These corporations aren't going to spend billions of dollars shifting around factories and displacing workers and hiring workers and all the rest of it on the idea that there's a trade war when he might not win the election, and then everything goes back to normal, and then they spend all that money for nothing.
But at the end of the day,
from the beginning.
But this is the thing, right? And this is where people underestimate Trump. Everything Trump has done up until recently, and including this, especially regarding trade, has worked.
In the tech industry? and insider information is that the companies are not going to change anything. They're just going to wait it out.
Okay. Well, that's
For
what they
example, like
claim.
Corsair. So, for
Sorry?
example, like Gigabyte and Corsair, which is two major companies, as well as other ones as well. Especially case manufacturers are not that affected, but video card manufacturers, Gigabyte, Asus, inside information is that none of them are actually going to change anything. They're just going to pass on the cost as needed to the consumer, and they're just going to wait it out. Yeah.
We'll just see. Well, that's just what I say. Like my reaction is, at the end of the day, I'm more than prepared to give Trump a little leeway on this and see how he goes. Because he has done so well with this sort of stuff in the past. I'm like, okay, look, you've pulled it through in the past. You've managed to do the right thing in the past. I'm prepared to see how it goes. I'm prepared to give him some time on it.
Yeah.
I do think it will work. I do think that it will work. That, yeah, it is going to be shifting a mountain, but I do think that he does have the bulldozer to do it.
No. What you have to realize is that in some aspects of the industry, some change can occur. If you're talking about, for example, certain parts can just be shifted instead of sourced from China, they source them from Japan or other Asian countries. That's true. However, major amounts of the SMT lines are in China, and that can't be changed, and it won't be changed because another thing too is that a lot of this stuff has been it's heavily established in places like Shenzhen. All right. They're just not going to move the factories like that. That's just it's too entrenched. You're talking about thousands of workers with experience, which is invaluable. The experience is invaluable. And you're talking about billions of dollars to shift a multi manufacturing line, like as in, this goes to here, goes to there, goes to here, goes to etc. Right? It's shipping lane, shipping setups. This, sourcing things, right? So, yeah, you can't just lift that up and change it.
No. But they can.
Example,
but they can go through and shift the components to the US and get the components assembled in the US.
No, that won't work. It's just bringing in the components has a tax that too. You can't do that. It's not
okay, but you see the thing is with the tariff wars and stuff like that Trump's done, right? At the end of the day, what it is it's him turning around saying, I'm going to give you a fine, so to speak, for incoming products until you negotiate. But that negotiation doesn't necessarily mean the manufacturing over there can't be done over there. He might just want the assembly done in the US. We don't know what he wants.
And again, you're talking about two different things here. First of all, the factories don't exist, and they would take about... See, this is another thing that Trump doesn't understand. And this is a truth, okay? I'm not making this up.
Okay, I get really worried when people say this is a truth, but keep going.
Yeah, I'm not making this up. You can independently verify this kind of thing yourself. To build a factory at the technological level to, say, assemble 1080 Ti's, you have to bring in all of the machinery, which will be tariffed, because the machinery isn't built in America either. Then what you have is you have to tool everything up, right? So you have the machinery and the tooling. You also have to then have the staff who know how to do it all, use all this machinery and everything. This kind of process, for example, when Intel opens up a new fab, which they have in America, that the last one they opened was a few years ago, it actually took them nearly, I think it was 7 years from beginning to end to get the factory from a flat piece of land to a factory built and ready to go. A presidency is 8 years long. Do you think that a company is going to invest the billions of dollars to kick up a factory when he's not even going to be president by then?
Well,
even if
they've
he
done
does
it with
get voted in the second term.
They've done it with other industries.
But the thing is that the insider information is that they're not going to do it anyway, no matter what.
Yeah, dude, I get
Because
really worried when
it's
people
entrenched.
say insider information because that could be just people pushing
Well,
an agenda. And to be honest, the Business Insider has actually said one chart shows why Trump's trade war against China is smart political move.
it may be a smart political move, but another thing too is that it's not just moving the factory and building it in America that is the issue. You also have to have all of your see. The thing is, it's running a factory that builds video cards, motherboards, all this stuff, right? You also have machinery that actually has been custom built by these companies, and so they would actually have to ship those machines specifically. They may be assembled, and it probably would be a huge thing to disassemble a custom piece of machinery that only those people know how to use and are not going to move to America. This is another thing. So one of the things that occurs is, say, Asus, right? In the Asus factory in Shenzhen, I believe they have one of their factories is in Shenzhen. They have a massive motherboard testing room. And the machine is completely custom, and it is the size of half of the room. So, and the people there actually built it, and only they know how to use it. Now, are those people who operate that machine going to go to America along with the machine?
Okay,
You have to ask yourself that question.
But here's the thing, right? So according to this article, President Trump trade war was significantly a complex issue. The vast majority of the US manufacturing jobs lost since 2000 have been the result of automation or technology improvements, not China. The US employment rate in manufacturing has fallen by a third since the 1980s. Rather than making adversarial of business that automated manufacture process, Trump has picked a fight with China, which has linked to only about a sixth of the manufacturing jobs lost. So what it sounds like
This is true too.
But hang on, let me finish. So what this sounds like is at the end of the day, the factories are still in the US. The thing that is happening at the moment is that those factories are actually being automated, which is actually causing the job loss. So the factories are still there. The factories are still churning out.
That's actually a bizarre thing for that article to say, because objectively, the assembly lines for all of these video cards, motherboards, all this stuff is actually not in America. That's a really bizarre thing to say in that article, because that's
this
not
is
true.
the Business Insider.
Yeah, that's really bizarre, because they're doing pretty much 90% of it. In fact, it is so entrenched overseas to the point where the boxes that the motherboards, video cards, all these components are put into aren't even made in the US either. The box is actually made in Shenzhen as well. They have a factory there for it. And then they have the boxes in their own factories. They build the board, everything in their factory, box it, and ship it. And the only thing America does is import the product already boxed, and then it just goes on the shelf. I don't know where he's getting that from. Maybe it's not the same thing. Like, it could be a different industry. Like, because I see the tariff war is not just computer stuff. Obviously, it's electronics. So we're talking about just everything, like iPhones. We're talking Android phones, GPS navigators, smartwatches, fridges. I mean, there's probably a lot of this stuff that I'm thinking of. That there's a lot of industries affected by this too. Yeah, that is true. The automation side of it actually affected China as well. Over the last several years, a lot of the people that used to work in the motherboard places like Asus Gigabyte factories, Intel as well, all of them, they've actually trimmed a lot of the fat as well of employees, because a lot of the stuff has been getting automated more and more. Bizarrely though, the people that used to do all of that manual work actually didn't want to do the work, and that's why they automated it. One example is the chokes that they put on a lot of the equipment. This is part of the voltage regulation module. The chokes are these square things. The employees didn't want to do it anymore. They just couldn't hire people to do it. They all quit because it was too repetitive and it used to hurt their fingers. So then they had to automate the job because people didn't want to do it. Whereas it's funny, in America, a lot of the automation is displacing jobs where people want to do that job. It's bizarre how it's back to front, you know. But anyway, I
Well,
digress.
they said on this article that China's lost a sixth of its manufacturing due to automation.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Where the US has lost a third, so the US has lost a lot more.
Well, yeah. I mean, and of course that's going to happen. I mean, why do you think, you know, you and I argue about UBI? It's like, I'm not, you know, I'm not saying that you're blind to it. You are. You see that it's happened. We just argue on the solution. But I think you and I can both agree that automation is decimating jobs across hundreds of sectors. You know.
Well, it's decimating some jobs, but it's also creating others too.
Well, you know, the strangest one of all to me is you wouldn't think that a heart surgeon could have his job in danger, and yet that's exactly what's happening. Like,
but how
they're
many
talking
people
about bringing in surgery machines?
But how many people do you think really want to go in and have him being surgically operated on by a robot?
It's far more accurate.
I don't care how accurate it is. That wasn't my question. My question is, how many people do you think want it?
I would. I mean, it's going to be far more accurate.
Because you're into tech. Because you're a technophile, so to speak.
Wait, so wait, you're saying that the people who would not want to be handled by a machine are people who are scared of robots?
People don't like robots, dude. People don't like AI. People don't like... Dude, the people don't even like the self-serve robots or self-serve service things at Coles or Woolworths.
Yeah, just speaking of that the other day, there was actually a problem down there, and there was actually a ton of people complaining and carrying on down at the Woolies the other day when I was there.
I went down there after I did the show yesterday. I went down and grabbed sausage roll and that from the local bakery and everything like that, and I walked in to grab some Coke and all that from the Coles. And I'm standing there, and there was a guy, and he turned around and he said to the girl, "Is there anyone that can serve me?" And she sort of pointed to Fastbank and said, "Oh, Fastbank is open." And his response was, "I don't want an effing robot to serve me. I want someone to serve me. Get someone to serve me."
The thing is that there's an objective difference between a surgery machine and one of those checkouts, because those checkouts have huge problems for reasons that are not... it's not really the machine's fault. Let's put it that way, right? It's a lot to do with bad programming. No. The problems with those machines has a lot to do with the fact that you're trying to automate in a very dynamic environment. Okay? You know, for example, multiple times Coles has turned off the waiting requirement. So, you know, when you scan and then it says placing bagging item, it weighs it to make sure that it's what really.
I constantly have to keep people. I keep having to get people override that because it just fucks up.
Yes, and for many times I've actually turned it off entirely in Australia wide to fix the bugs in that system.
I've never seen it being turned off, but regardless,
Oh, really? They didn't turn it on? They told me it was Australia-wide, but maybe they were wrong. Here they turned it off multiple times, and I asked about it. They said that they were turning it off everywhere for a while because there was issues. I didn't know that they actually lied to me. Okay. Or maybe they thought they were telling the truth. I don't know.
Maybe.
But the thing is like in a more controlled environment, automation works beautifully. Like in a factory, there's no dynamics. It's a very controlled environment, and thus it works perfectly. So I would say that automating very repetitive, controlled things works. But we do need to have realize that there are certain things we shouldn't automate, and definitely customer service is something we shouldn't do it. Look at the customer dissatisfaction when they do surveys on people calling companies that have a an automatic answering thing, and it tells you press 1 for this, 2 for this, or the
Yeah,
one
I
that
can't stand the fucking thing.
actually, yeah, and you know how they use the AI now to say what you want.
Yeah.
The customer dissatisfaction on that is high.
Mm.
There are just some things we shouldn't automate.
Yeah. I have some company
No.
that's ringing me because apparently I owe them $30, right? And I keep getting this voice that rings me, like this answer machine service that says, "You owe us $30. Please pay by this certain date," right? Here's the thing. They don't include a BBS, they don't include a BSB number, account number, they don't include a BPay number or billing code or anything like that. I got no idea who the company is or how to pay the bill. And it doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you how to do any of that stuff. And I wish I could ring them back and say, I want the details to pay the bill, but I can't because every time I ring the number, it's an effing automatic machine.
Yeah. Aren't they? Isn't it one of those credit card ones where you go through the system and you enter your credit card on the dial pad?
Yeah.
That's how they want you to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing is that it could be a scam, so why would you ever follow that problem?
Well, that's true too. Like at the end of the day, this company's ringing up because it's like a toll sort of thing down. Yeah. But I was going to say, but at the end of the day, it's like, okay, fine, but give me some details. Don't tell me I just owe you $30, right? Okay, I want a license plate of my car. I want to know what car I was driving at the time, right? I want to know whether this was me or not. Because you're just asking me for my credit card information. And you're probably not aware of this. I just had people try and actually take $600 out of my bank account by using a random credit card generator.
For real? Holy crap.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah. I tell you now, they could have had a lot more fun with it than they did. There was a lot more money than $600 in there, that's for sure. So I got the $600 back, and since then I've moved a lot of that money that was in that account into like a separate account, into like a interest account, so that it can't be drawn on. But at the end of the day,
that's what I do.
Yeah, but at the end,
I use a special account that cannot be debited. I can't even pay like a BPay out of that account in my internet banking.
No,
that's how secure it is.
Yeah.
But
the account that I normally transfer all that stuff to had actually gone dormant and a couple of years back and blah blah blah. But anyway, we're getting way off track. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, as for this look, do I think she's trying to give him a subtle hint? Sure. Do I think that you could make that argument? Sure. Do I think it's a slam dunk thing? Maybe, maybe not. Look, I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her. But at the end of the day, I do find it very interesting that she's saying, just hold off until the 2020 election and we might have a change of administration. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Trump's going to win 2020. But
well, it's actually funny because of those insider things that have been verified actually say the same thing. They're just going to sit out and wait and see what happens. So I don't know. I mean, it's a funny thing. I think it's like a Mexican standoff between the importers and Trump. That's what I'm saying.
We should probably wrap this up. We've been going for 23 minutes on this story alone. But guys, let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below.